I want to welcome you all to the March school board meeting. We're excited to have you here. We've got some great students to present tonight and some really exciting opportunities. Arturo, if you'll come up and say the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Arturo Palacios. I'm 19. I'm a student at Archer, and I'm also a student at NWTI. I participate in their construction fundamentals class, and I am scheduled to graduate May 2022. I have a construction job as a side job on the weekend, and Archer has really helped me. Like, they've really gave me a second chance at my education, and the teachers, they're all great. They're very caring, and they show it. They're also very interactive with all the students. They try to help you. Including my teacher at NWTI, he's also a very great teacher. They've made learning very fun for me. I'm interested in engineering. I've had 2 engineering classes, which was CAD and CAD in lab. And yeah, that's about it.
What other schools have you gone to in Springdale?
HAR-BER, and yeah, just HAR-BER.
In Westwood and Sonora. So have you gone all the way from kindergarten?
I've been to Georgia Elementary, and that's as far as I remember. Well, does Fayetteville count?
I'm not going to answer that one.
Okay.
Depends on where you went.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to answer that one. Tell us a little bit about what draws you to construction.
I just like being outside, and I like moving. Yeah, it's just the way I am.
Board, do you have?
Yeah, I'm interested in how frequently do you go to NWTI?
I go every single day, right after 12:30.
So you finish your day over there.
Yeah.
Once you're out of school for the day, you finish it.
Yeah.
And you already have a job in construction?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Some great opportunities.
Yeah, that's a good example of a partnership there that's working. That's good.
And we were talking earlier when I got to meet him, just knowing that that's a job that's never gonna, we're always going to need people in the construction field. And it's exciting that you know exactly what you want to do and exactly how to get there. So congratulations.
So I don't really want to put you on the spot, but was the process to go to NWTI pretty easy for you?
I don't know exactly what I did to get in there.
It was pretty easy.
The answer, yeah.
Are your parents here or anything tonight, or anybody from your family?
No.
Anybody with you tonight? By yourself?
Not yet, I'm by myself.
Congratulations on graduation.
Thank you.
That's
Well, actually, for your question, I do remember now. I've been, my attendance was pretty bad last year, just last year. But this year I've been coming more. I've been coming every single day, trying to finish this year, and I've also got my grades up. So I think that's what got me in there too. Yeah.
Well, we're excited for you and very proud of you, and thank you for coming and talking to us tonight.
Thank you.
Good luck.
It's exciting the opportunities our students have across the board. I think we'll see a little bit more of that tonight, of chances that our students get to see what they can do now and what they can do in the future. So, board, you've had the agenda for a while. Are there any corrections or changes or?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Mrs. Creek,
Second.
a second by Mr. Bell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Board, you've also had the consent agenda. Any questions or anything that you would like to pull?
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Hutchinson, a second by Mrs. Creek to accept the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Cleveland.
Thank you, Ms. Cook. I'd like to recognize Mike Fontanopolis. Come forward. We have some National Merit finalists we'd like to recognize tonight. You've seen them before, but they are outstanding young people.
Thank you. Hello, board. How are we doing? I want to chat with you about our national merit finalists that were semifinalists back in October. And because of the hard work at the Don Tyson School of Innovation, Kelly Bortz and her staff, and at HAR-BER High School and Dr. Greep and his staff, those students moved from national merit semifinalist to now finalist. And of course, the next step is, what they've done is and those students can come forward, please, while I'm talking. Come on up and come on down. And what they've done is they've basically created little money trees in their yard in the potential of scholarships that they could pull from in the future. And so if they do accept a scholarship from the National Merit because of this competition, then they would then get the distinction of being a National Merit Scholar. So that's where that comes from. So there you go. These are the top 1% students in the state of Arkansas from last year as they took the PSAT. And then they turned around and did a series of essays, and they took the test again, or that was actually, they were allowed to maybe submit an older ACT score so as to make sure that that one PSAT score wasn't a fluke. So anything that you would like to ask these guys?
I think they've told us before, but could they each tell us again what they plan to do?
Lucas, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I plan to do software engineering after college.
And where are you going to go?
It's a great question.
Okay. I think it was a great question the last time we met.
Yeah. I'm still waiting on college responses.
Okay.
It's a long process.
It is.
Very good. Very good. Noah?
I'm going to the U of A for data science, and so I actually just applied for their fellowship scholarship there, and I did my interview yesterday.
So what are you going to do with that? What would that degree help you do?
Get a job just in the business field with a company, looking at data, interpreting the data, and just helping them make decisions to better their company.
What gets a 17-year-old kid looking at data, going, I want to look at data?
I've been interested in computer science and just business classes in high school,
Okay.
and my mom was data science.
Okay, cool.
When will you be notified about the scholarship?
March 18th. March 18th.
He
And he won the decking competition again this year for the $1,500.
Oh, my. Now explain that. What is that? What's that all about?
That was just a social media marketing challenge with DECA, and so that got me sponsored to go to the international DECA event that I qualified for in virtual business.
Which means mom and dad don't have to pay, but last year, since they didn't do it, he got $1,500. Very nice.
There you go. Way to go.
Daddy's doing all
So I
right.
got better this time.
There you go. Preston, go ahead. What's going on with you in the future?
Yeah, so I got accepted into Vanderbilt University. I plan to major in biology or some sort of pre-med.
Okay.
Maybe minor in music.
What kind of music?
Choral performance.
Oh, okay. What kind of medicine might be your future?
Who knows?
Who knows? Okay. Okay. Well, good. Board, you got any questions for these young men?
Are y'all ready to graduate? Are you ready for this process to be over?
And we're missing Brady Billingsley. I don't know where he's at. He's probably playing a piano somewhere, I would think.
He's usually pretty busy. Well, we're very proud of each of you and all that you've done.
Ms. Cook, can you help us and come around and maybe help present these plaques? The first one would be Lucas Keller.
Hey, can you remind, can you remind us again of what percent?
1%.
What percent, what, 1%?
This is 1%, and really, if we can kind of cheat that number, it's the top 0.5% of the 1%. That is the state of Arkansas when it comes to the score for their PSAT their junior year. Yep, that's right.
How many what's the number of that, the big pool, and then how many finalists?
For us as a district or as a state?
Like these guys are 4 out of how many?
These are 4 out of, right, 95. Did you say 95?
95% semifinalists.
There you go.
The data guy.
Thank you, Nick. The data guy got us.
The data guy got it.
Break that down. How long of a process was this? When did you start this process?
I mean, junior year is when we took it, but then we got notified, I think, September of this
That's exactly
year.
right. Usually when you take it your junior year, you have to sit on this, you have to sit on this not knowing for a whole year until you come back. You take it your October of your junior year, and then you really don't know your outcome until you come back to school, usually late August, early September. That's when they finally release that. So it's a long present waiting to be opened. And then when you find that out, now you get in the process of getting with your counselors and getting with that staff at that high school that's going to help you walk you through all of those. All of the essays that you're going to write, the taking of the test again, and things of that nature to fulfill that finalist moment. And again, we went 4 out of 4 on this one, like, as we usually do. I want to talk about that for just a second. Springdale Public Schools usually gets their kids from semifinals to finals. Very rarely do we not have that happen for us. But go ahead.
Is the PSAT, is it a multiple guess test, or is it?
It's multiple choice. Mm-hmm. And it's divided, it's almost like the ACT, just a little, rearranged a little different.
It
Reading,
takes them a
writing.
year to get them graded and tell them what they scored.
Now that's,
You put in a machine that says, okay, you got.
that's another story. I think what they're really trying to do is they're trying to get that National Merit Index number where they want it for that state, which is kind of a magical number of the number of students that took it, and that total that they have, because there's some questions that are more valuable, if you will, than other questions. And so that's the grind. That's the grind as they're going through those 50 states.
So let me ask you a loaded question.
Okay.
If our district didn't believe this was important, and we didn't have the vehicles and the tools to help these 4 kids, would they still be standing up here? You gotta have a support system
I think
pushing the process, right?
You do, and you do have to have that, and that's a good. It's tough just to walk backwards into these kids and just there they are. I think maybe in some areas that might have been the case, but trying to grow these kids is trying to grow these kids from the 7th grade on and finding them and fanning those flames. That's exactly what we're doing.
And it's an important objective on our district's part, is to.
So. It's one of those.
Because even if you find them, you gotta go through the process, right?
That's exactly
So,
right.
and it's a rare accomplishment, and
We're starting right now in the 7th grade with the.
not that we're proud to have it, the whole city needs to be proud that these 4 gentlemen, or 4 kids, whoever, up here every year, represent
Absolutely.
their accomplishments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This didn't happen by accident.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Thank you. And when you decide
I'd like to introduce Ms. Fink.
sorry,
Good evening. I am here this evening to give some exciting recognitions of two of our staff members in our district. As you've probably already heard, we've had two amazing educators win the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching. And I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what this is and the recognition that they're getting as a result of this amazing award. The Presidential Awards for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching is the highest recognition that a kindergarten through 12th grade science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and/or computer science teacher may receive for outstanding teaching in the United States. Up to 108 teachers are recognized each year. Historically, awardees receive a certificate signed by the president and a trip to Washington, D.C. However, this year it was virtual. They also receive a $10,000 award from NSF in, excuse me. Awardees join an active network of outstanding educators from throughout the nation. Since 1983, more than 5,200 teachers have been recognized for their contributions in the classroom and to their profession. Awardees reflect the expertise and dedication of the nation's teaching corps, and they demonstrate the positive impact on excellent teachers on student achievement. And just a little fun fact, Springdale, for the last 6 elementary mathematics awards, we have taken that award. So at this time, I want to introduce to you Miss Lindsay Hall. Miss Lindsay won the Presidential Award for Mathematics, and she is a teacher at Young Elementary. And unable to attend this evening is Lisa Taylor. Lisa is a teacher at Shaw Elementary, and she won the Presidential Award for Science. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Lindsay, and she can answer any questions you might have.
Hello.
Well, congratulations. How was the virtual meeting?
It was good. It was interesting. We would have breakout sessions. It was a day full of PD, and but a lot of the people were asking, are we going to get to go to Washington, D.C.? And they said in the coming months, they said we will get to go. So they're just waiting on the White House. Like, they've done their part. They're just waiting for the White House to give them the okay. So they told us we will still get our trip to D.C., they said, and they're hoping in the coming months. So
That's exciting. I hope that works out. Or do you have any questions?
Will you just walk us through the process real quick of start to finish, what this looks like?
Sure. So in November of 2019, I got nominated. And so you work on a concept. So I chose fractions. I was 3rd grade at the time because that's kind of we say fractions, adults are so you work on a concept all year long. And so I had an idea of where I wanted to get my kids. It includes a lengthy application process that you have to do. And you also have to videotape a 30-minute lesson that's unedited, just a 30-minute clip. And so you want to put that video off until close to the end of the year because you're trying to get your kids your goal in mind. That was, keep in mind, November 2019. So here we are coming into 2020. I was getting my kids where I kind of wanted, I was starting to videotape some, here and there, and my instructional facilitator was doing the videotaping for me. And the Thursday before we let out, she came in my classroom and she's like, all right, we got to videotape today. She goes, because I think COVID may shut us down, and the application was due in May. And so anyway, so I videotaped my lesson the Thursday before we let out for good. Of course, no mask, kids were on the carpet area, and so I was like, felt rushed. But then they pushed the application off until October of 2020, and I still had this videotape that I hadn't done anything with, and encouragement from principal, instructional facilitator, specialist, you have a really good video, and it was hard last year, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do this, but anyways, I decided, hey, I tell my kids, don't have a fixed mindset, have a growth mindset, you can do it. So I went ahead and submitted my application in October 2020. In December of 2020, they announced the 2 state finalists. And at that time, 2 weeks before Christmas, they said, oh, by the way, before we send your stuff on to the national level, you need to do a 5-page addendum to your application of, they gave a suggestion. So the 2 state finalists did the 5-page addendum to send on to the national level for them to choose the national winner. And that was, so the last thing we heard was back in December of 2020, and then I just found out I was the state winner on the national level.
It's long a process, national mayor.
Yes, so it's been like a 2-year process, so to find out if you want. So
Excited.
I'm excited.
Any other?
There's 2 per state.
Yes, 2 per state.
We have
And
both of them.
Springdale's won for mathematics the last 6 awards for Arkansas.
And I use, and Springdale developed their own math curriculum, like I think 7 years ago, and that's what I use to work on this concept. So it just speaks for the great things going on for the district they have.
That's really exciting. We're so proud of you. We're so thankful you're here in Springdale,
Right.
and we hope you get to go to Washington.
Yes, fingers crossed. Soon, they said, coming months, so.
Well, if you get to go, then we'll have you back so you can tell us how it goes.
Yeah, we're excited. All right, that's
Thank
it.
you.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to continue our celebration. We have the Hellstern HAR-Robotics team with us this evening. The Hellstern HAR-Robotics team, they have been in competition, have won some very recognizable awards. The red team won the Champions Award. They were the overall winner of the state robotics competition. And they have an invitation to the FLL World Festival, where they will be competing in international championships for robotics. The yellow team also swept with a bunch of awards. They have the Core Values Awards that exhibits excellence in collaboration, innovation, and spirit. And they also received a prestigious invitation to the Razorback Invitational, which will be held at the University of Arkansas, and there will be international competition happening there as well. And they've been nominated for the Global Innovation Award. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Tapey and his team to come forward to the podium, please. And Mr. Tapey, would you mind introducing the members of your robotics team?
So cool.
Can I stand in front of this? Is that acceptable?
You sure can. And you can take the mic off if you would like. You may need to so they can.
Yeah, just
Sweet. Well, thank you for having us. I'm Mr. Tapey. I also want to point out Mr. Ripplemeyer here, Josiah Ripplemeyer, and Steffi Tio are also coaches of the teams. So we work together. Steffi and Josiah are our GT facilitators at Hellstern. HAR-Robotics is not an extension of GT, but they're able to work that into their schedule. So super great. So let me introduce these students real quick, and then I'll talk a little bit more. Over here, this is Noah Bradley. He's in 7th grade. This is his 2nd year on the team. This is Matthew Hernandez, also in 7th grade, his 1st year on the team. This is Mr. Ripplemeyer. He is not in 7th or 6th grade. This is Des Evans, his 2nd year on the team in 7th grade. This is Parker Porbeck, his 1st year on the team in 6th grade. And Philip Wilkinson, his 7th grade year, a second year veteran. And Finn McCarty, 6th grader, 1st year on the team. And then we've got, obviously, 6th graders, 1st year on the team. We're a 6th, 7th school. This is Sandy Vicente, 6th grader. This is Clara Aguayo, 6th grader. Breland Drummond, 6th grader. Emily Crecilius, 7th grader, but 1st year on the team. Olivia Wright, 7th grader, also her 1st year. And Savannah Mounts, 7th grader, also her 1st year. Mia Yek, 7th grader, also her 1st year. And, nope, she's a 6th grader, just kidding. I was just going down with 7th graders here. And then Gwen Earhart, 7th grader, her 2nd year on the team. So you probably noticed, but I think it's pretty cool. The gold team is all newbies except for Miss Earhart here, kind of leading the pack with her veteran experience. So yeah, it's been an incredible season. We're missing a couple of guys. Some of the guys had conferences during this time, and one of them is feeling sick today. So we've got 3 more guys not here: Chev Welpley, 7th grader, and then Jonah and Joshua Parker, who are 6th graders. Oh, and Cooper Horn, who's also sick. He's a 6th grader. So yeah, we are just really pumped. It's a huge honor. What I didn't make clear on these slides is that both at our qualifier competition in Springdale and at state, these two teams took first and second place. The Core Values Award, which is what's up there listed for the gold team, is really the second place award. So it was pretty incredible, especially at state. The way they announced the awards, it was just like, and from Springdale, HAR-BER red. Everyone claps, takes pictures, sits down. And from Springdale, HAR-BER gold. Everyone claps, takes pictures, sits down. And then it was like, and from Springdale, HAR-BER red again. And it happened like 4 to 5 times. And while the whole rest of the auditorium was like, okay, we'll just watch. So that was a pretty cool moment of competing against really great teams across the state. So we did bring our robots. Both teams have a robot, and then the gold team brought their project as well. The Global Innovation Award is specifically like the World Championships for project, and then the World Festival that they're going through is the overall World Championships for First LEGO League across the way. So it's the highest level of competition. We'll be in Houston in April, competing against, last time we went, it was 106 different teams from about 64 different nations. So we're really excited about that. And then, like Ms. Fink said, the Razorback Invitational is also a global competition for teams from all over the world. Thank you. We are crazy pumped. If you have any questions about the program, or the students would love to answer as well, if you want to ask them about their project. The guys also have a project. It's just very large and hard to put in cars, so we didn't bring it.
Well, which student wants to tell us something?
Okay, so obviously I'm on the girls team, and our our project has to do with organ transportation. Since this year's theme of FLL is Cargo Connect, we wanted to do something in the medical field, so we picked kidney transportation, since kidneys are the only kidney that are transported on a courier. So we made sensors. Our project is called SPOT. It's an acronym for Sensored Powered Organ Transportation. They are an orientation sensor, a temperature sensor, and we are working to make a GPS used by programmed by a Raspberry Pi and a SenseHat that we will put in different locations of the kidney cooler as is being transported. So if something happens wrong with the temperature, goes up a bit, or it falls over with the orientation, that is not exactly optimal for an organ. So it will notify the doctors who will notify the courier to fix that immediately. So no further damage can be done.
Is that being used like in real life, or did you guys come up with that on your own? It sounds like something that should be being used.
Yeah. So we had this idea and we researched a lot, if we could find any examples or anything that's actually out there, because it does seem like something that should be out there. And we did find one product called Syndom PT300, but that is a sensor, it's a battery basically that transports stuff like Amazon clothes and stuff that is not a human organ, that's not a necessity basically. So it was not optimal to transport organs. So we wanted to modify that into our own way with 3 different types of sensors and Raspberry Pis. So essentially, yes, it is our own creation.
Every time I have a good idea.
Yeah, there's mentions of patents. That's actually what the Global Innovation Award actually is somewhat about, is, hey, what of these projects that the students have done, what are actually capable of taking that next step toward this should be a really viable actual, what is it called, marketable product is what we're looking at. So whether it reaches patent or not, we're not sure, but they're working on developing it, which is really cool.
I'd be afraid to share with anybody because there's going to be people there that are going to steal it.
Right, yeah, it's so true, so true. And what they haven't said is that their team has Zoomed with a pediatric nephrologist. They've Zoomed with multiple organ donors and recipients. They've also Zoomed with the director of clinical services at Aurora, which is Arkansas's regional organ procurement organization. So the people that are in charge of organ donations in our state. And I'm probably skipping the experts that multiple computer science people as well. And I don't want to leave the red team out because they are equally impressive. So I'm going to pass it off to Des here. Here's our team captain. So he's going to tell us a little bit about their project, which is totally different, but still the same thing.
So In cargo transportation, the problem we identified was cargo theft. So a big area where that happens a lot is truck stops. So we invented something that comes up in between the two tires of a semi-truck trailer. It's called the trailer trapper, and so it's a pipe that's inside of another pipe that's held in the ground by cement, and you pull it up in between the two tires, and it's held up by like a hinge sort of, and then basically the trailer can't move because of the pipe that is holding the two tires. And then what makes it unique is that like a thief can't just go over and push it down, because they have to have this handle that's like, you take it and you put it in the top and pull up, and it raises the hinge, and then you can put it back down so that you can move your trailer again.
And what they also didn't say is that they've talked to multiple engineers from JB Hunt, and who else did we? Thank you, civil engineer as well, who's helped them price and think through how this could actually be installed. And so I think that's one of the cool things about the program. One of the many cool things is that both teams are getting real life experts to come in and look at their products, and all of our experts have said, yeah, that's a fantastic idea, and we need that. Whether it was about organ donation or the semi-truck trailer, keeping it safe, really, really cool stuff that they developed. And theirs is like a full-size model, like it's made out of wood and power tools, and actually like has this special handle that's kind of like the key and all of that.
So I have another question. Like, you still have things to finish this year. You're still competing. You still have competitions. But what's next? For next year, are all you guys that are in 6th grade, are you going to do it again? And come up with something different? And then for those of you who are in 7th grade, like, what do you do in 8th grade? What's available at the next level? Do you know yet?
The junior high is attempting to make a class that will be able to be like a competition team for robotics.
Oh, cool. But unfortunately, there is no FLL for Lego League beyond middle school.
So the governing body is first, and we have some other first teams in Springdale schools, and so we're first Lego League, which fits this age band, and the next level would be like first tech challenge or first robotics competition. So we're trying to figure out how to make these programs more continue on through our feeder patterns.
I actually have a letter from one of your students. They wanted to remain anonymous, but it's a letter to all of the coaches and thanking.
This is going to be problematic.
I trust the parent that handed it to me. So I would like to thank our Robotics coaches for all that they have done for us and the amount of hard work that they put in for us. One reason that the coaches should be acknowledged is that they have put in so much time to help us be the best we can be. When being a Robotics student, you have one block, approximately 45 minutes, taken out of your schedule. That block is also taken out of their schedule. For Mr. Tapey, that is approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes out of his day where he puts in his time to help us. While being a teacher, you need all the time you can get to grade assignments, set plans, and just have time to yourself. So 90 minutes is a lot to ask for a teacher and a coach. Another thing that shows dedication is that he uses his Saturdays working the robotic game with us. He even would give us pizza and donuts. Another thing that makes our coaches so awesome is that they teach us in a fun way and don't just give us the answer. For example, we got to experiment with is that one?
Oh, yes.
Hitch and roll on starter robots. One of my old coaches just told us how to do it and how it works. When I had him, I learned a lot, but I felt like I was always not understanding it. But now I do. Another example is when we use spike lessons. Those helped us learn about robots in a fun way. Is it Rip?
Yes.
Let us use power tools, and we think that's really cool. Tio? Yes. Always encourages us to push ourselves so that we can get the most out of the experience. Robotics has become more than a class. It has really evolved into the HAR-Robotics family. This experience has taught us more than Legos. We have learned how to be better students, friends, and competitors. Thank you so much for investing in us.
Their goal is to get me to cry, which isn't super hard, but that was successful.
Any other questions for the students?
Well, I'm not going to forget now. Would all of the parents of these students please stand so we can recognize the time and energy that you too have put into this? I do hope that after April, y'all will come back and we will hear how that went.
We'd love to.
So we're excited for you. We'll be cheering you on from here and can't wait to see how it goes.
See, what's even cooler is the board members that have been on the board more than 10 years. We've seen where it started.
Yes.
To where it is today.
Yes.
That's
It's awesome.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. We're really proud of that letter said it really is a HAR-Robotics family that has gone for multiple generations within, well, not generations, I guess, but iterations of kids. We've got some returners here who had older siblings on the team, and getting to share with the incoming fifth graders and rising seventh graders the legacy of the team that they're joining. We've been to Worlds before, we've been to other international invitationals before. It's a really huge honor to have this program, to have the students who have built it here, who continue to build it, and the students who built it beforehand as well, and the parents who've made it possible, for sure. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Well, that cleared the room out. The old timers.
Okay, and all of you sitting in the back of the room, I'm going to be one of those teachers that
Back
says
row
you have to
Baptist.
come to the front.
Back row Baptist.
That's where they always sit.
Really proud of all of you.
guys would leave too.
So cool.
Jeremy's, yeah.
No, I cleaned it out for sure.
Okay, we're watching you.
Oh, gosh. Was Paul bothering you?
Yeah, I remember that first
Was
board
Paul
meeting.
bothering you?
I'm just excited about the
Yeah. Oh,
Pretty amazing deep thinking from those children.
It really is, and just how it's grown, how from like you were saying, a couple of years ago, we've had 4 or 5 students involved, and now, I mean, 2 huge groups. And the number of girls, which is like, I want to go cheer them all on. So,
Ms. Cook, our next, our number 4 under the superintendent presentation. For those of you who don't know, Ms. Cook and I got to travel with the Department of Education to Seattle. And we did that, it's been a while now, Ms. Cook, just last week, right?
Yes.
So Sunday through, and we came back on Wednesday. Long trip, full of constant time. We were up in the morning and ready to be at the school by 7 in the morning. And I guess we finished late in the evening.
I wasn't ready by 6.
But it was full of learning. We went to the White River School District in Seattle, Washington, just outside, I guess, the suburb of Seattle. I'd like for Ms. Cook to talk to you a little bit about what we learned, the focus of the trip, and then some real takeaways that could help us in Springdale.
First, it was an amazing trip. I couldn't be more thankful that the Department of Education reached out and allowed us to join in on it. Something I want to say publicly is we are so fortunate in the state of Arkansas to have such a connection with our Department of Ed and with Little Rock. We may not always agree with everything that comes out of there, but the amount of times that they listen and just how they listened and just sat and talked and we could banter back and forth on things on this trip was amazing. And I firmly believe it doesn't happen everywhere, especially in some of our other states and around us. And I'm just thankful for Arkansas and for that opportunity. It rained the entire time. Let's just start out with that. If any, I had never been to the West Coast. I'd never been, and Seattle is definitely wet. Board, as you know, we've been working on PLCs and collaborative team meetings and how we can move forward with that. White River School District does an amazing job. I mean, amazing. I saw some teachers that were working in meetings that within a 15-minute time span, basically, had gone through their students, figured out what the needs were, and worked together within the 3 teachers to figure out how they could fix those needs. Volunteering blocks of time to another teacher's student, just really putting students first in every last thing. Some of the things that, that I was reminded throughout the trip was how valuable the time during PLCs or collaborative team meetings are. How learning, and this one was a big takeaway, how learning and PLCs needs to start. I mean, this was one thing they really pushed, needs to start from us. It needs to start, for it to move forward, we need to know it backwards and forwards. And we need to be prepared to have it written down so that whoever takes our place one day, whoever takes Dr. Cleveland's place or Dr. Smith or whoever's can continue whatever policy or whatever PLC program we do. One thing I've been asked about this is why we even looked at it. I mean, why? And one of the big things, another big thing that took away was that it's an opportunity, and what they showed was an opportunity to grow our teachers. And, my husband always wants to be the other side of the coin. And he said, why do you, what did you like about it and why? And one of the things I came away with is, which teacher do you want to give up to say they can't learn? Just like with our students, which student do you want to say, I'm okay with that student not learning? Which of our teachers are we okay with saying, I don't want them to have the opportunity to do professional development, or I don't want them to have the opportunity to have every tool at their fingertips to make sure they can help our kids.
What was your answer?
As far as
You're not willing to go.
I'm not willing to, no, and it had that point, they brought that up on the last day, on the last meeting, and looked straight at us, pointed their finger and said, in a classroom, or say you had a classroom of 100, which 10 kids or which 20 kids are you ready to say, I'm okay with them not learning, or I'm okay with them falling behind? And the same premise goes with our staff. I mean, who are we okay with just being okay? And I'm not okay with my kids.
So I don't want to get in the weeds with you, but when we discussed this a couple of months ago, there was some angst about some of the time commitments that it would take to do this, right?
Right.
Were some of those validated?
They were definitely validated
For you?
for me.
Yeah.
Do I think that it's going to be a challenge? Do I think that we have a lot to work through? Do I think that we need to work through it first? Yes.
But some of that angst was
Yes.
affirmed.
One of the things that affirmed it probably for me more than anything is they did a question answer one day, and they had everyone from paraprofessionals to the superintendent on the front line answering our questions. The ability for those individuals to collaborate and answer questions and have the freedom to do that, the freedom to, they felt confident enough, no matter which position they held within the school, they felt confident enough to speak up and say, this is what works for me and this is what has helped my students. And I was just sitting there going, wow. I mean, because often when we're in a meeting or someplace, we often have a teacher, there's often people that are quieter and more hesitant to speak up. At this district, every single person that we came in contact with was willing to talk to you and to explain to you how it helps them. The person who, if I could bottle them up and bring them here, it's the counselor. And have any of y'all ever thought about the counselors doing PD or having a PLC? I was so excited after listening to him. I was like, he could,
So how big is the White River School District, and what grades did you observe?
We observed all. We observed kindergarten through high school. It is smaller, it is different, but the person in charge that runs and that has written the books has done it with districts across the country in different sizes and different things. I asked the same question, and one of the questions that was also brought up to me was, I asked, well, how do I get everybody to buy in? How many times do we ask that? How, what's the buy-in? And their response was, it's not a question of a buy-in, it's a question of giving something a chance that if done and done correctly, we have the potential to affect everybody. And we have the potential to allow our teachers more time and our staff more time to both learn from each other, learn from other people within the districts. We talked about everything from how our teachers that teach, this district called them singletons, that teach one thing and don't have anyone else inside that school that teaches it. How their the opportunity to share with other teachers and to really get into that. Another thing that I don't want to forget to say is when they're in these professional learning committees, it is very child specific. It is not, we're not talking about a class, we're talking about an individual child. They name the child by name, could tell me, this child has grown this way or this way, and this is what we need, how we need to push them farther. That was on the elementary level. On the middle school level, they would pull it up on the screen, and on the side after an assignment, the teacher would write in to the student, hey, this is how you can move forward. This is how you can do better on your paper next time, direct, immediate feedback that was child specific, that wasn't across, Another thing when we were talking about it is, and like you were suggesting this morning, it's kind of like Dr. Cleveland described it like a doctor's office. It's a team of people evaluating students to create plans. And I think we have a lot of staff, a lot of schools that have got that started. I think there's a lot we could learn from this to move it forward. And
I think there are some essential questions to focus on, just like what Ms. Cook was describing. Imagine if your child was sick. Now this is a stretch, okay? Stay with me, Mr. Allenby. Imagine if your child was sick, okay? And you wanted the best doctors in the world to focus on helping your child become well. Say, the teachers, the doctors here. The focus is the children being able to learn all the way up through career, okay? You want those doctors to be the best in the world. How do they do that? Number one. Also, would you want a family practitioner doing all the care for your child if it's not their area? So if there's a specialty in math or a specialty in literacy, a specialty in science, would you want that group of specialists together collaborating to create a student success plan for your child? You would want that if your child was sick. So it's the same mentality of bringing the core people together that can create a pathway along with the parents for a student success plan all the way through. And so that's what we're thinking, and it's creating time for that to happen. We have a school day that historically has been 8 to 3. So how do you create time in that day without reducing the amount of student instruction? Because we say student instruction is the key, right? Great teaching and learning taking place in the classroom, and you have a specific amount of time. So our team, our curriculum team, has really worked with teachers and parents and the patron shelf and others to ask critical questions of how can we do it? What does it look like? Is it early release? Is it late start? Is it we keep the day the same and take the kids in another area and have release time for teachers? So this is a conversation that's ongoing. It can't be decided in one meeting. It's got to be really looked at. And so Ms. Cook had the idea today to have some focused work sessions on what is the PLC process, which focuses on 4 essential questions, and you've heard them. What do we expect the students to learn? How will we know if they learn it? How do we respond when students experience difficulty in the learning? That's the RTI process. And how do we respond when students do learn? What's next? And so those are those major questions. And so we're looking at that. Some 2 takeaways that I had. The one was critical for me. You can't lead what you don't know, understand, and believe in. Because if you try and you botch it, you ruin it for everybody. You ruin the learning opportunities. So it's important to go slow and steady and do the right thing every time. You can't just quickly jump into something and hope that it's going to work, because hope isn't a plan of action. And the final question for me that resonated was, if we're going to get better, are we better today than we were a year ago? Are we better tomorrow? Will we be better tomorrow than we are today? And that's a constant focus on what you do, I think, in your daily work. It's you don't want to be the same from now on. You want to grow and do better. Because if you're green, you're growing. And if you're ripe, that's the first step to rotting, right? So we don't want that. So we want to be able to move forward. And I think our staff, I think they're professional, and I think they're looking for opportunity to collaborate together. So we're looking at, and I think Dr. Smith sent it out today, what was the date for, it was at the HAR-BER. It was, what day is your?
30th.
Okay, looking at 30th, maybe doing the HAR-BER school board lunch and maybe staying at HAR-BER, taking some time and really going to the PLC process if you're into that. We'd love to do that. And we also have, and want to invite you to, the RA is they're really focused on looking at what the PLC process looks like in their school. And on the 16th of this month, I believe it's in the afternoon. Yes or no?
We also do that on the 30th as well.
Oh, okay.
If
Okay.
that would be easier.
Sure. We have options is what I mean, and we'd love for you to be able to dive in deep in it and learn more. I know you want to, so.
I know the time issue is a big concern with everyone. There are other districts, both locally and in the state.
The time issue.
As far as adding, I mean, like taking an early release or a late morning. The time issue is we're not inventing the wheel, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Is there are other people doing similar things. So it is feasible. I mean, there's a lot to it. Any questions? I know that I rambled, as always, apologize.
I have one question. It's not a question I expect to be answered today, but I just want to put it out there maybe before the next work session. And I'm so glad you just gave me an excuse. I'm green. I'm growing. I'm learning. And so when this first was introduced, first of all, at Little Rock at the school board meeting, we were all just kind of like, what? What are they talking about? Like, we didn't know if it was for kids or teachers. Like, we were so confused. I was so confused. I will not drag y'all down with me. And then Dr. Smith mentioned to me, or to all of us at one point, that some teachers would actually lose CTM time. And it was all so fuzzy to me still. I didn't really grasp that. But I would like to have an answer to specifically, I think it's the sophomore teachers that will lose a significant amount of time. And because they're getting students ready for the tests that are a big part of our ESSER scores, like, I'd like to address that. Like, do we have to take their time away, or is there a way that we could leave them like they are and let them have that time that they already have, if it's working? And I want to make sure that we talk about that, and the high school principals could weigh in, or you guys can explain it to me. I really don't understand it all. That's just kind of a concern that was brought to my attention, that
It's valid.
I would like to understand better.
That's very valid. Time for time's sake, though,
Well, that's what I'm saying. If the time is valuable and it's working,
sure.
you know, but if it's not working and if there's a better way to make it work, then sure. But I also don't want to just take it away just so they can all be even, you know,
Absolutely.
I want to understand the thought process to get to wherever we get.
I think that's valid. See, nothing can happen at all anywhere in any school district without a solid board that understands, because you'll get the questions before the rest of us. And so if you are able to know really well and have background knowledge and help explain, that really means, because you're representing your community and they're going to come to you, and you need to be able to know and be able to articulate. And
Well, and what you just said about us being able to explain it and support it and stand behind it, boy, you wouldn't want me doing that, right?
I think you're trying to ask.
Which is why we're doing this.
I think you're trying to ask yourself and answer a couple of questions. Do we have the time and the resources, and are we putting forth the effort to create an environment to where our teachers and all of our leadership can become the best they can be?
Yes.
What is that answer? And then, if they're not the best they can be, that means our students are not gonna be the best they can be. So how do we fix that thing that makes that answer to both of those questions a yes?
Yes. Yes, I agree. I just want to,
structure.
yeah.
So.
Well, and the one
You're
thing.
gonna have to give up some, you're gonna have to gain some, you're gonna have to.
Another thing that I didn't touch on that we saw that was amazing, part of it is they had the structure so in place, and granted it took 12 years is what we say, so in place that a substitute could walk in and do it. Like, they didn't have any trouble. We sat in on 2 PLCs where there were 2 subs.
It took them
You mean
12 years to
CTM?
get to where they're at,
See.
and they're smaller than us?
Well, I mean, they've been doing this process for 12 years.
We don't have 12 years.
2,000 students, K-12. Yeah, part of it is that, and.
But that's the whole part about, we have to have it. If we, whatever we do, if it's this or something else,
The
we
superintendent
need
would-
to have it.
It just becomes part of your fabric, I mean, that's how
Sure.
you're.
Yeah, that's it. The superintendent at White River would say, we made a lot of mistakes, and these are the mistakes we made, and here's where we are. So you shouldn't have to take 12 years to get there. Try not to make these bumbling, goofy mistakes, and here's what's working. And it might not work exactly. Each school district is like a fingerprint, you know. We're all different. We may be a school and have an LEA number, but we have unique needs in our community. We have unique needs in our classrooms. And so you have to take what works for you and then do that. So it's just part of this conversation, and I know it can create some anxiety among our staff and among our community, and maybe even in the board. So it's important to have that comfort level, and until you've asked all the questions and we've been able to work through it all together, then we need to make sure we continue to study. And that's what this conversation's about. You need to be able to learn it and know it. We can't afford to botch it. We've got 23,000 kids and 3,000 employees that are counting on us, and about 100,000 in our community that need us. And so it's important.
Is what we saw at Shaw Wednesday, is that a byproduct of doing this? Okay.
I mean, we're doing bits and pieces of it throughout the district, so we just have to figure
Trying to create
work
that
to,
Yeah, I would agree that's.
you know, or figure out if it will work everywhere. Any other questions? And everybody's got that date?
Thank you for listening.
And thanks for letting me know. Do you and Clinton, when we start voting, do y'all want to go, or 6 o'clock?
Good evening, Board. I have several items for you this evening. The first one, as you'll recall, the voters approved us refinancing our debt. We sold our first bond issue back in July, and then we have just accepted bids for the second bond issue dated March 1st. And so Mr. Michael Dobbs is here with First Security to talk to you a little bit more about it. I'll steal a little bit of his thunder and tell you that the low rate, because in this instance we want a low rate, was right at 3%. It was 3.003 or something like that, which is higher than our Series 1 our Series A that we sold back in the summer. Rates have just climbed. However, it is lower than the rates that we will be refunding on the existing issues that we have. So, Mr. Dobbs.
I appreciate you guys having me in Scott's place tonight. He would have preferred to be here himself, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to go over this with you guys briefly, and please let me know if you have any questions along the way. We've got just a little bit of information to go over, and again, I'll try to be brief on this. I'm sure you all have in your packets the final recap for the bids for the Series B bonds. So last Tuesday, on March 1st at 11 o'clock, we took bids for your Series B bonds. We ended up getting 5 bids. The low bid, again, coming in at just over 3%, 3.033999% from Citigroup Global Markets, a group that bids out of Los Angeles. This is actually the first time we've had them win a bid. They've bid on a number of our deals over the years, but this is the first one with us that they've bought. They have bought other Arkansas school deals in the past. Other bids came from Wells Fargo Bank at 3.17, Robert W. Baird at 3.25, JP Morgan at 3.29, and Bank of America or B of A Securities at 3.36. So we saw quite a range there of bids. We're real pleased to get the 3.03%. As Mr. Hayes has mentioned, rates have been moving up on us lately. Just to give you another example, today we took bids on a $35 million school district deal. Our low bid was 3.17%, and the bids went all the way up to 3.50. So every week we're seeing those rates go up. We're glad that you guys were able to get in, when you were able to, even though it is a little bit above what we had originally shown. Citigroup has appointed Bank OZK to serve as the trustee. That's where payments will be made in the future. Closing date is going to be March 30th of this year. So that's money in the bank for you guys will be March 30th. There's a section on the transfer of funds, and I won't go through that in detail other than to give you kind of the bottom line number that y'all are interested in. We were originally projecting about $50 million in construction proceeds out of this series. It ends up being $54,406,752.37. The difference there is really the way that this bid works, and it kind of comes hand in hand a little bit with that higher rate. Kind of the best analogy I can give you is if you've ever gone and gotten a mortgage, they'll give you the option of buying the rate down, essentially putting more money up front and getting a lower interest rate. This is sort of that same process in reverse. The bidder is offering you more cash up front. In exchange, they're asking for a higher interest rate. So by doing that, that's kind of how they kind of play with the bid parameters and kind of get the bonds in a place that they want rate-wise and feel they can market. So again, you guys ended up with a little more than $54.4 million in proceeds. Your first payment is going to be June 1 of 22. That is within this current school year, and it's going to be right within budget of what we've already had on the books for this year. So there's not going to be any real difference that you'll see this year payment-wise from what you've got scheduled. There will be a payment schedule that you can see probably in that packet, I assume, that Scott included. The only other thing I would really mention or go over, we do have 3 years to spend these proceeds. That's kind of the goal. I know you guys always have projects to spend bond and construction proceeds on, so that shouldn't be an issue. After that point, there is kind of some additional IRS rules and regulations to watch as far as how you invest those proceeds. They don't want you earning too much money is essentially the IRS goal there. Shouldn't be an issue. But just kind of keep that 3-year time frame in mind, and we'll kind of remind you guys of that along the way as you're going through these projects. So there is a motion that you guys will make to approve this issue, but I'll answer any questions that you guys might have before that.
Let me give them just a little
Sure,
bit more information.
absolutely.
The 3 projects that we're doing, as you know, are Central Junior High, Southwest Junior High, and Springdale High School. When we were forecasting the amount of funds, this is to take advantage of the partnership funds that are available to us from the state, around $35 million. We estimated that our portion of that would need to be around $90 million. However, due to the supply and demand issues that everyone is experiencing, we are seeing a higher cost in construction than what we had anticipated. So actually getting $54 million as opposed to 50 is working in our favor as we work on these projects. So the first issue generated about $40 million. This one's generating 54. Yes, sir.
Include the media center at George and
Yes, it does include the media center at George as well. Yes.
one other thing, wasn't there?
4.
Just those things?
Well,
We did a reimbursement to help us with Rollins if necessary.
Okay.
yes, we did. Yes. And obviously, the 3-year timeline, we don't anticipate that being a problem because we plan to be in those new facilities, all of them, by the fall of '24.
Board, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution authorizing the issuance and delivery of the 171.3545 million in construction bonds.
That's quite a deal.
Second.
Have a-
Repeat that again.
From memory.
I have a motion by Mr. Emerson, a second by Mr. Owenby to adopt the resolution on the insurance and delivery of the construction bonds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. The next item that we have for you, Board, First Security Beardsley has served as the district's financial advisor forever, I think. And so they are asking that we renew their 3-year term with their working relationship with our district, and we would certainly ask the board to consider that. We would like to do that.
Free pen. Well, you know, I can see what I've got in the bag. I may have some.
That's fine. I'll make a motion to continue our ongoing relationship with Beardsley Group
Do we need to say that for a year?
for the next 3 years.
I have a motion by Mr. Hutchinson, a second by Mr. Emerson to approve First Security Beardsley as the district's financial advisor for a 3-year term. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the next item, I'm going to ask Mr. Dobbs to come back up because it's kind of a mouthful.
So the final motion and piece of business has to do with a continuing disclosure dissemination agreement. The quick and short version of what that is every municipal issuer of bonds, school districts, cities, counties, et cetera, that issues more than $1 million in bonds at any time has to provide certain information on an ongoing basis to the public. And that's handled through the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. They have a website where we make filings periodically. Things like your audit, unaudited numbers annually, statements related to bond issues, those types of things. This is just part of our service that we provide for you guys. We've actually got an agreement in place for this. We are updating it because 2 years ago, the MSRB, Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, added some additional events that they call listed events. These are things that they want to specifically list out in the rules and regulations that we have to make filings if these things occur. So I think there's a copy, maybe with the motion, a big 18-page document or something of our dissemination agreement. On page 5 of that, if you have it, is a list of the events. Numbers 15 and 16 are going to be the new ones. Essentially, they have added specifically types of loans If you take those out, we need to make a filing. And if you miss a payment on those loans or default on them in any way, we need to make a filing. So the kind of common sense things that we would have done anyway, they just kind of put that into the rules and regs. And because of that, and because all of your new agreements on this bond issue and future bond issues will have that new language, we want to make sure that our disclosure agreement that we have you guys in working on your behalf matches that language and carries that new language through it. So that's all that is. It's really just kind of a housekeeping item, but again, I'll answer any questions on that, and if not, there is a motion that'll need to be approved.
I make a motion that we approve the continuing disclosure dissemination agreement with First Security Beardsley.
I have a motion by Mrs. Creek, a second by Mr. Bell to approve the continuing disclosure dissemination agreement with First Security Beardsley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Board, the next item that I have for you this evening is I would ask you to consider passing a resolution for a related party. The company is Jennifer Gladden Photography. Ms. Gladden is the spouse of Curtis Gladden, who is an assistant principal at HAR-BER High School. So we are disclosing that relationship. It's my understanding they took several quotes, and Jennifer Gladden Photography was the low quote. We'd ask that the board consider passing a resolution so that we can do business with them.
We can, we don't need this vote.
No, she's great. Yep. I'll make a motion to approve it, as a matter of fact.
Thank you.
I have a motion by Mr. Hutchinson and a second by Mr. Ramos to approve the resolution for related party transactions with Jennifer Gladden Photography. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Board, the next item that I have for you this evening are the February 2022 financial statements. This is the time of year, I think I spoke about this last month, where we're kind of in between tax collections. So we will start to see our tax collections pick up again later in the spring. As the tax bills go out, then we will see more being collected. So things are looking good. Our revenue is, I'm not too concerned about it being a little behind where it was last year because of that snafu that I tell you all about every month that happened last year with the treasurer, or the collector. So it looks good. On the expense side, it's looking good. So I really don't have any specific things to point out to you other than our assessments overall, our local property tax assessments are headed in the right direction. Last year it was up about 8%, and this year it's up about 9%. And that's great because for a long time we were in the 2 to 3% range. So I'm happy to see those bigger numbers come back. Any questions you may have?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Hutchinson, a second by Mr. Emerson to approve the February 2022 financials. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Oh,
Sorry.
thank you. Now we'll have Mr. White come up and give you a construction update.
Hello, Board. Dr. Cleveland. I don't have any photos of the construction this month. I hope to have some next month at the board meeting. So at Central, we did get state approval today through email. So the bid package, which bid package 1 will go out probably tomorrow. We should get it back around the 17th, and it's for the site work, the gym remodel, and the demo. And then bid package 2 is the rest of the job. It should go out around April 12th. And then we look about April 4th to mobilize on Central and actually start work. So we have already put in place some storage units for them to start moving some of the classrooms that are getting demoed out. Some of them's agri, so there's a lot of equipment they don't need for the rest of the year. So they're putting it in storage and helping get that process started. Southwest, we still don't have the state approval, but the tentative dates are March 22nd for bid package 1, which is the site work, the field house, the new field house, and then demo of phase 1. And then bid package 2 should go out on June 7th, which is the rest of the facility.
State at the same time?
No, they were staggered. We did it on purpose on all of these projects to stagger them into the state where they got approved at different times. So, we expect the rest of these jobs to be approved probably within the next week. They should all be coming through. We've got comments on several of them from the state, and the architects had responded back to answer any comments we've received. So at Southwest, we've got 2 storage containers there for them to start moving into. We did get the portable classrooms ordered. They're scheduled to go in April. That way we can get all the utilities ran into them and start having them ready for students. Springdale High School, we still don't have the approval. We expect it any time. Bid package 1 will go out on April 13th through April 27th, depending on when we get the approvals. And it is the whole package. So it'll be demo and construction of the whole project. And then on that one, we expect to start demo around June 1st. So we do have 4 classrooms on site. We're remodeling right now. We'll have those ready by the end of summer. George Elementary, we're still in the estimating plan on it to get the estimates back to see what kind of budget we're looking at on that project. The middle school HVAC projects, they've been working on the weekends trying to get control wiring in place and some electrical. And we're looking at Helen Tyson Middle School and J.O. Kelly Middle School, installing the gym, central heat and air units over spring break. The rest of them will start as soon as school gets out. We should have all the units here by then. And then we can start those processes right at the end of school.
When you say the state has sent us comments, is that just another way of saying they have questions, or are they making us make changes, or what's?
A lot of it's just questions, pretty much. A lot of them, they may need another page from the architect, or they may want a physical set of plans. We haven't had anything major.
These are things that our architect and our contractor, Dr. Stein, people like that can fix.
Yeah. Some of it's just getting all the documentation to the right people in the right order. And like I said, we haven't had anything, any major issues on that. We think it'll all go through smooth. The DTSOI driveway, we're close to having a approval on that. We're having to wait to get a curb and gutter added to that to clear it through the state. So we expect that will go through in the next couple of weeks also. And that's really all I have. You guys got any questions?
We're gonna have to block out like a whole hour for you next year.
Probably, yeah. We should have a lot more to show probably in the May board meeting. Everything looks like we're gonna get started the end of March, 1st of April, as far as getting job sites, like job trailers on site and starting to do dirt work. So a lot of these, they'll start with the retention pond, a lot of the utilities. We'll get all that done, what we can do with kids in the building, and then once school's out, we'll start the demo.
I was asked about I talked to Dr. Cleveland a little bit about it, the central gym.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is it will be open and used during this time, is that right?
That's,
We'll renovate it over the summer.
Mm-hmm.
During the school year, I mean.
Yes.
Competition is the problem because of parking.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to do that, and if Jeremy can come up with a great solution, along with Patrick Tenney, and I know they're working on it. The landholder that's adjacent to us, I think they're working with him to potentially see if we can park on that land.
Okay.
But we don't have that in concrete.
Done yet?
Yeah, we moved the gym renovation up to this summer instead of waiting till next summer.
Gotcha.
So we could get it, we'll have to shut it down for the summer to get it renovated, but then the start of school, it'll be ready for them to
It'll
use.
still be the main gym, right? Okay.
Correct. Yeah, so we're looking at it, just adding filming platforms, redoing some of the insulation, the ceiling, lighting, sound system,
Yeah.
and just upgrading it. Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's a little aggressive. All that's a little aggressive.
Yeah.
And I was talking to some other superintendents at a meeting. They asked what all was going on. I told them. And they're like, oh, that's a lot. Yes, it's a lot. It's normal for Springdale.
Yeah.
Yep.
Always have a project.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. All right. I'll introduce.
Projects.
We always have projects. Ever since I started here, we've always had projects.
Job security.
Yeah.
He loves it, and he does a great job.
Yep.
We're very thankful
All right.
for you.
Thanks. All right. Here's Mr. Donnell.
I like to tell the little sticker story, but I won't. Tonight, I just wanted to introduce Mr. Rusty Johnson, our Springdale Schools District Safety Liaison, and he's going to be presenting you with some district safety updates. And I just got to say, over the last 2 years, Rusty and I have worked really well together, and he has really helped the entire district move safety forward. So I'm going to let Rusty take it from here.
How y'all doing, board? Dr. Cleveland, Miss Leanne. I've got some handouts I'm going to give y'all real quick. So I'm going to talk about the COPS STOP grant, Stop the Violence grant, that basically is paying for my position and the improvements that we are doing. So there are 4 components that I visited with y'all earlier in the year, and they were to the grant, and it's building safety audits, threat assessment teams, mental health, and anonymous reporting. As Mr. Donnell said, we are in year 2 of this grant timeline. So first, we're going to talk about the building safety audits. We're conducting 31 quick audits every month of every campus on a monthly basis, where I'm going through and looking at things such as, are we locking our external doors? Are we locking our internal doors when we have students in a classroom? Crosswalk safety, drop-off pickup safety, stuff like that. We're making sure that we're adopting and following through with best practices. Another thing that we have done since the last time I met with y'all is the courtyard at Archer now has a fence going up. There was some safety issues that we identified in the initial RIMS assessment when I first came on, and that is being addressed. A fence is helping us to alleviate some of those issues. And we're training all of our classified staff now. We have been training our certified staff, but now we're training our classified staff as well. We're training them in emergency procedures, Catapult EMS, which is our emergency notification system through our phones or our computers, and with active assailant. Our next assessment, our component, is our building threat assessment teams. Our campuses are beginning to utilize our building threat assessment. That is one of the handouts I handed you. It's a threat of violence against others. We're working to intervene at the onset of issues. That way we can keep small problems. We can deal with them as they're small problems and solve them, as opposed to letting them to metastasize into a large problem. Then we're dealing with the consequences of it. We have, I'm attending threat assessment trainings. I have attended one was it last week we had the snow, or the week before? I can't remember. Not last week. Last week was a good week. Attending those trainings, I'm actually going in April and attending some more training of advanced threat assessment. so we can continue to improve, and we're looking to revise our plan according to CJI guidelines. CJI is a Criminal Justice Institute, and what we have is really, really good, and we're just looking to always make it better. We have the Threat Assessment Action Plan, which y'all have in front of you, as well as the response protocols for threat to self or threat of harm to self. A lot of time and effort have went into those, and those are some of the procedures that we're following. So we have a mental health component in the grant, and we're attending person brain training. It's scheduled for our Archer and ALE staff later this August, as well as select counselors and social workers. That is also funded through the grant, and that is being facilitated by Burrell Health. And anonymous reporting. As of yesterday morning, we had approximately 94 anonymous reports since we began using this powered through Catapult EMS. This is our See Something, Say Something. Many of these issues that we have been reported to us, we're able to resolve at the onset and be able to stop things before it could escalate. So we have a student-produced video, Miss Madeline Sasosny. Thank you. I cannot pronounce it. She was going to try to be here today. Sasanasi. All right. She was going to try to be here so we can introduce. She did some great work, put this together. This is another avenue for us to get it out in front of our students and our staff. That way we can culture that or support that culture of if you see something, say something. We'll play this real quick.
Hi, I'm Madeline Saisanasi, and today I want to speak about our school culture and community. We've all heard of See Something, Say Something. It's out in the hallway, on the back of your ID, and in your classrooms, but what does it really mean? See Say is a way for students to anonymously and confidentially share their experiences or concerns. As the largest school district in the state, we have a lot of kiddos. Every student should know how to reach out and report a safety concern. The See Say form is everywhere. You can access it on the top left of every Springdale computer via SPS links, scan the QR code posted in the halls, access it on your school website, or go to go.sdale.org/CSay. We have the voice and power to influence our district as a whole. We can create a district that we're all proud to be a part of. Do your part, and when you see something, say something.
It was a great video. She's in 9th grade, too. I thought she was a senior, but she's in 9th grade.
I thought she was a senior last year.
Yeah, I was going to say, every time she's come before us, I've thought she was.
The graduation of school innovation. Yeah. She was amazing. Rusty?
Yes, sir.
In my position on the State School Board Association, I also participate every couple of months on the School Safety Committee, the State Safety Committee with, I can't remember the lady's name right off the top of my head, but we talk for about an hour and a half or 2 hours on Zoom, about 3 times a year, 4 times a year. So I had gotten in touch with them, and I know one of the big problems was getting all of our SROs and stuff through all these different trainings that they're supposed to go to, because they only allow like one of them to go at a time. And I've been trying to get them to bring that training up here, and that way we can get all of our guys and gals in there at one time. So if there's anything like that you need me to put a bug in their ear about, let me know.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to do that. I usually just sit there and listen to most of it and just kind of write notes to myself and just try to kind of fly under the radar. But if there's something that we need as Springdale District, let me know, and I'm happy to. I don't normally bring it up during that meeting. I'll catch them after the fact or call them and make a one-on-one with them. But I do have those inroads because of that. If you need anything, I'm happy to help you with that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I'll keep that in mind.
I haven't gotten any response yet. I'm bringing that up here. I'm like, we pay for you for what it cost us to send one person down there. We can bring you up here and we can train
A whole lot of people.
30 folks versus one every few months down there. So it seemed receptive, but I haven't heard from them since. So
Okay. Thank you.
Typical state thing. So
I understand. I used to work for the state.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
And our last slide on here, with anonymous reporting, we really want to make this easy for not only our students, our staff, parents and community members we want them to utilize this. So we have our CSA posters that are up everywhere in the schools. They're in the hallways, they're in the classrooms, libraries, they're in the cafeterias. Just some of the examples where they're at. I believe they're even up in some of the bathrooms. So, but you have our URL code, the gostl.org/CSA. That's one avenue that they can access this, or they can take their phone and their camera and the QR code on the poster. Like I said, these are everywhere. They can just go up and scan it. They can go onto any Springdale device, and the SPS links in the upper left-hand corner. You can access CSA, or any district website in the top right-hand corner, you can access CSA. So there are multiple ways for them to do this, whether it be at spur of the moment, or they can do it in the privacy of their home, or on a drive home, or wherever. We want to make this accessible, and we want to foster that culture of, if you see something, say something. I've started telling people when I'm teaching or instructing these classes that, a good example of CSA is if you have two kids that decide at 4:59 they're going to have a fight at 5 o'clock, the rest of the student body knew at 4:30. So if we have something brewing and we can get in front of it, a kid's going to know about it, because I believe it's 84% of the time, if we have something that's building, they're not going to come out and tell me, they're not going to tell Dr. Cleveland, they're not necessarily going to tell their teacher, but they will telegraph their intentions. If it's a student-involved incident, they will telegraph through either their drawings, their social media, or they will tell an acquaintance, or they'll tell a friend. And there's a difference between acquaintance and friends. And just anything that we can do to prevent and to assist these individuals, we want to. So, do y'all have any questions of me? I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. SCA is not here, and I have no patron comments, so if no one else has anything, this meeting's adjourned.
The times now.
I don't know.